Okay, so hi everyone, and welcome to number five in our professional discussion. Today, we're really pleased to have on Russell Rusty Earnshaw, who's going to be talking a little bit about his coaching journey and his philosophy in coaching. Someone who's been described as, I believe, part genius, part nutcase. Is that is that about right, Rusty? So, yeah, without further ado, if you could maybe explain a little bit about your background and how that's taken you to your coaching journey as it is now.
Yeah, no problem. Husband, father, coach, in that order. Don't always get it right. Born up north, so probably gives you a few things when you got a paper round at an early age. Probably got a good work ethic and all of that. And then, yeah, was then worked really hard at school. Amazingly, went to Cambridge, maths and economics geek. Played professional sport, didn't love it. Probably influenced my thinking quite a lot. Still speak to lots of players that don't love it either, which is really sad. And then what else did I do? Coached a bit of age grade stuff, so England 18s, England 20s with a couple of guys, John Fletcher and Peter Walton, that influenced my way of thinking. Spent 2 years teaching, best CPD I ever did. Again, huge impact on how I thought about I guess learning and coaching and all of those things. And then, yeah, then someone came in and got rid of me in 2018 from the RFU. And I need to thank him for that because it's led me to learn way more stuff than I ever thought was possible. And at the time, didn't feel like it was the best move for me. But yeah, I'm very lucky to kind of do what I do now and get to, well, learn off people like you two. So there we go.
Yeah, great stuff. So I've got, before I kind of met you over the summer, sort of heard a few podcasts and things that you've been on, and then sort of had the pleasure of actually seeing you performing live, if you like, at the
Performing live, it sounds like I was playing Wembley.
yeah, not far off maybe, but yeah, the brilliant conference put on by Walsall and Martin Bowles, the Cat Free conference. So just seeing it kind of live and it kind of resonates with a lot of the stuff that myself and Tom are sort of doing really at the minute. So if you could maybe describe a little bit more around that, around how you make it the social side and maybe the co-coaching parts to it.
I can't quite remember the Cat 3 conference. I can remember it roughly. I remember there's a couple of kids that, I mean, I think we've chatted about it. Like noticing is the most important coaching skill, isn't it? So you only see the problems, you know how to solve. Uh, Maybe 20 years ago, I might not have seen those problems, but I remember there's a couple of lively lads, which is quite common, isn't it? They're teenage boys that probably had some stuff that I feel like I could have helped them with. And it's, you know, you guys know way more than me. I guess my job is to probably simplify it. The way I often simplify the psychosocial is I probably have two things that I think are generally quite important. One is being a good teammate. So actually, and that's not like pink and fluffy. That's like being able to, you know, have tough conversations, but it's also being able to receive and filter feedback and all of that. And then just staying in the moments, like where are my feet? Um, Kids often have all the emotions and none of the skills, and that's one of them, isn't it? Like, oh, like I'm worried about something that's happened, or I'm stressed about something that's going to happen in the future. So that ability to like just take a moment and breathe and breathe out and stay in the moment. So I guess those are the things. And then I guess the co-coaching is interesting to me because often we're not maximizing coaching. I think normally at the conference I would have done. I'm now remembering the conference started to come back to me. So I'll tend to self-determination theories influence me a lot. So I think I'll probably have gone to the kids. Does anyone feel like they would benefit from having a coach helping them with something? And some of the kids might have had some football stuff. Some of the kids might have had some more psychosocial stuff, and then yeah, then I would get them to lead that relationship. I just think that a them to me or a them to another coach interaction is higher value than an interaction from me to them. So, and the beauty of a conference is you got 100 co-coaches. Like, how good's that? And I guess that is one of the challenges of coaching alone is, okay, how do I help everyone help themselves? And so that might be that you're using other players as coaches. It might be that it's injured players. It might be that I have a couple of parents that I could use, or so I think that we did a bit of stuff around that. You'll nod if I'm remembering correctly. And then maybe the other thing I think a lot about is like how do we like optimize for the start line? So often we are, we got these big grand plans, and in sport we'll often do a 3-year plan, and we'll do this. And actually, like, can we make some headway now? Can I set myself a challenge? Might be like mild, medium, or spicy. Might be pretty mild to start with, and I can actually have a bit of success and go, oh wow, yeah, oh that makes a difference. And then I might toggle back and use a bit of old way, new way, and go, okay, well, why don't we play 5 minutes where you don't stay in the moment and you do argue with the ref and see which one you prefer. So I guess I think about that. And then, sorry, the last thing in my head when you asked the question was like just my view of what coaching is. So I think coaching is helping people help themselves. And that's different. I don't want to be a crutch for anyone. I don't want, me to have to be going to players all the time. I want them to find ways of solving these problems themselves. So, and I might need to give them a couple of clues. Again, you guys will know way more than me, but it might be that Damien McKenzie, smiles when things go wrong because it releases all the good hormones in his body, all the good chemicals. And then Tiger Woods spoke about allowing himself to be frustrated for 5 steps. So just maybe give them some stuff to play around with. Again, often we think coaching is just walking around asking reflective questions, and sometimes they need a tool. So I don't know if I've answered your question, James, but anyway, that's where my brain went.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing that sort of impressed me on the day is you kind of come up with kind of instant answers for kind of when you spotted something on the pitch. I think, yeah, myself and Tom's approach is more sort of periodizing it and looking at it over a longer period. But yeah, I was just really impressed where you kind of sort of picked it off. You saw someone with their head down, and you use that Tiger Woods phrase that you said about the 5 steps, and yeah, I thought that was really impressive. So interesting, you talk about self-determination theory there. So one theme that's come through all of these discussions so far is autonomy. So
Yep.
obviously part of that theory, and player-led stuff and ownership of players. So how's that come about from you? Because I know you had a really decent playing career. Is it kind of negative experiences you might have had as a player, or what?
Yeah, yeah. I was a journeyman player, but I've had some people tell me I should have got lots of caps for England, and I didn't. So there's obviously a reason for that, and some of that is me. So when you start talking about autonomy, my immediate thought is like what skills do we need to give the players to help them be able to like survive autonomy? So I was really lucky. I went to Cambridge where we had a coach that was way more concerned with the drinking games afterwards. The peg, have I got the peg? Have I got the golf ball? Like, oh, you lads just coach yourselves. So we probably learned some stuff, but actually, some of the skills I didn't learn were like, what does autonomy look like when the coach doesn't think the same way you do? So I think like helping the players understand how to approach coaches, how to have hard conversations, how to deal with deselection conversations, how to ask great questions, all those things are part of it. And so, I think a lot about levels, what's the right level? And there's this kind of spectrum, isn't there, between player-led and coach-led. And actually, where are they now? What are they used to? And where can we move to? Because we might freak some people out if we go from here to here. But actually, what are the steps from here to here? What do they need? And my experience, again, those, if I remember back to the day, I'll have coached about probably another 1,000 kids since then, is that they're pretty good at those ages. Like, eventually we kind of beat it out of them, and the education system, like, also teaches them, they're a little bit of learned helplessness, if I'm honest. And so I think the kids were pretty good at going, yeah. And if I remember again, like kids going, yeah, I need a coach to help me with this. And some of the stuff was like, it wasn't like my first touch. It was like staying in the moment. It was like, how can I deal with this type of stuff? So yeah, I think that's how I think about it. I think there's this, and then as a coach, like I think about it as like almost like like an armband versus like a lifeboat. When do I need to like just give a nudge, or what are my coaching skills? Is it a prompt? Is it a question? Is it a clue? Is it a little challenge, or is it like, okay, everyone in, like, my fault, I've got this wrong. Thought you were able to do this. I'm just going to throw a bit of a lifeboat in here that's going to really help everyone. Um, and I guess like coaches will live longer if they do this because we've got this kind of. I see lots of coaches who are, and I experienced it as a teacher. That's why I said teaching was my best CPD. Where I'm staring at this big pile of marking, thinking, "Oh my God, I've got so much work to do," and I'm thinking, "Why am I doing the marking?" Like, of course, I need to help them understand like how to think like an examiner or to, So I think a lot of coaches are. This is the bit where when I go, look, self-determination theory, like super helpful, you'll probably live longer. You'll probably be less stressed. It might be a little bit stressful to start with, but you'll get to a place where it's all a little bit easier for us. And again, you guys might tell me different. I see lots of really stressed out coaches at this moment in time who
Yeah, yeah.
actually don't look like they're loving what they do.
If we just stick with that autonomy, I think that's really good insight there about like how you've come to like autonomy and now you might develop that in different players and what you do. But I think you're right with coaches. What I see a lot is the coaches in different sports that I see, and you will probably see more. You'll see a lot more coaches than me. They want to prescribe. They want to be the teacher. They feel a sense that they need to give to players more, and there's sometimes a less is more is potentially more useful. Like you say, they'll live longer. How have you managed to sort of bring coaches round from a coach development perspective, or just being a co-coach or a mate who's a coach? How might you bring those coaches round to that less is more autonomy providing service, if you like, to players?
Yeah, and again, probably think in a similar way to I do with the players. I wrote down three things as you were speaking there, Tom. I wrote the illusion of control. I wrote the naivety of plan A, and I wrote principles versus structure. So there are lots of people who think plan A or do plan A harder. I think we are, especially in rugby, where there's so many variables, like you never step in the same river twice. There's this illusion of control. And then I think lots of games have gone way too tactical, like structure versus coaching through principles, which
Yeah.
which can feel stressful to start with, but then when the players fully understand like that these principles are going to help their decision making, collective decision making, it's so much more powerful. Often have to show coaches, if I'm honest. So just had a couple of camps in, I think way more impactful stuff I do is like in US and Canada and the Premier League stuff where you're with a group of coaches for a period of time. I think the one-off, in a classroom is less helpful than the plan, do, review over a period of time, iterate, try this. What about this challenge? I'll often start off with a challenge, like, oh, I've got a bit of a challenge. Do you fancy it? But yeah, I might show. I'll often co-coach. So I guess one of the things that I experienced as a coach is that, and I was really lucky to have like Kevin Barron impact me, and he was super helpful. But like getting on the pitch with coaches and co-coaching with them, and maybe modeling some stuff, and also catching them doing some good stuff, starting from where they're at. Okay, well, maybe if we did this bit in the planning, why don't we try this? Why don't we give both teams a timeout and see when they call it? And let's just listen in and see how close they are to the solution we're thinking about. Oh yeah, cool. That's us. And again, like let's optimize the start line. Then suddenly go, oh yeah, ooh, actually the player timeouts are pretty helpful, aren't they? So okay. How about when one of the teams goes two scores up, we'll ask both teams to come up with a rule that'll help that team move to the next level. That makes it a little bit harder. Like so I guess probably same as with the players, there might be a couple of little nudges. I might need to demo it. I'm definitely not demoing it in the football sense because I haven't got the skills to do that. Yeah, and again, then sometimes eventually when we get to a place where they're going, this is cool, then go, okay, do you want to go back to it? Let's put all these kids in a queue and tell them what to do. Like, oh, I don't want to do that now, Rusty. It feels so like suffocating. I don't think there's a one answer to this. I think everyone's at a different bus stop. I think my job is to be responsive and understand where people are and what feels like where their kind of zone of proximal development is. Is it mild, medium, or spicy? If they got a game in 2 days' time and they'll lose their job if they don't win, I may not be altering too much. If they're coaching the under 12s and it's the preseason, then I might go all in on some stuff. So yeah, for me, it's it's same as with the players. It will be really individual.
Yeah, I really like that, like the varied and individualized approach. I can remember, I'll share an experience when I watched like some rugby league sessions over a period of time to understand what the coach was doing, and they presented every session as a problem to really put it over to the players. So it might have been like, how do we get into wide spaces early, or go and get into three groups, go and show me, come back, spend a few moments. And it was a real nice example of putting the responsibility over to those players to be creative and feedback. I can remember stood with the parents, which was an interest. They were going, what's going on here? What are those players doing? Why are the coaches not telling them what to do? And there is, from different stakeholders, sometimes a resistance to that. But it's so important, isn't it? Because when they're in a stadium, if they ever get further up the chain, they often can't hear the coach.
Yeah, there's two things there for me. One is questions for sessions. So I would think about all sessions of questions.
Yeah.
We wrestle back momentum. How can we psychologically stay on top? How can we play in wide spaces? How can we play to the best space? And then, yeah, I guess for lots of the coaches, you have to kind of bring the parents with you on this, don't you? Because again, there's an expectation, isn't there, of what coaching is. I started asking like I did a thing on Sunday with coach development. I was like, cool, go and like get into a group of coaches you don't know, and 1, 2, 3 rank the 3 most important things for you to achieve this season that aren't winning, and then give them a bit of time to do that. Then I cool, go and connect up with your coaches from your team, and then see how aligned you are. And again, this is where alignment could. You could be really easily unaligned on this, couldn't you? Because one person might say problem solving and the other person might be thinking completely differently about this. So, and then also like then sharing that information or asking the parents their view on that information. So I think it becomes even harder with co-coaching. The story I tell, I worked with John Fletcher for 3 years. It was probably the best co-coaching I ever did. And then 3 months later, we both did a CPD together and I had to walk off the pitch. Because I was set a problem, Fletcher was trying to solve it in a way I didn't want him to do it, and I was like, "Mate, you run the session, no dramas. I'm off to stand over there." And again, that's that the co-coaching aspect of this is actually quite a challenge, isn't it? And I just remember like being like, "Oh my God, Fletcher doing my fucking head in!" Like, and there's the guy that I've coached the best with for years, and then suddenly I'm like, "Oh mate, honestly, my head's gone." So yeah, it takes a lot, and I guess potentially the shorter term, easier solution is to not do that, is to practice solutions rather than set problems.
Yeah, I'd agree, because I think I see that, and that is a challenge when I do some coach development work, and I'm sure that there's the people that watch this might be coaches, they might be students, they might be sports psychs trying to get into support coaches. What the challenge sometimes is, I think it's actually getting those views across to kind of coaches and trying to let them do that less is more. And it's a tough space to be in. I've got another question, Rusty, if that's all right, and I'll go back to James after that. I think the other characteristic you said was really important, that you found, the sort of staying in the moment. And I think that is, I see that in talent development spaces, as in that's quite challenging for players to do that. They're thinking about what's already happened and the game's already passing them by. What are some strategies that you've tried to sort of promote with players as a coach?
Yeah, and just on the other stuff we're talking about, like again, I have a framework around see it, share it, solve it from a problem solving point of view. So
nice.
I can understand where they are. Like, have they seen the problem? Have they shared the information? And sometimes I might need to scaffold that with a timeout. And then can they solve it? Do they actually know the answer to the problem? And the staying in the moment again. Often. And by the way, that's not even, sometimes that's from a emotional regulation point of view, but sometimes that's from an off the ball point of view. Actually, like I've just drifted away. I haven't been watching the game. And so again, I had a good catch up with Fletcher the other day, which he's chatting about. He's playing around with language of ahead and behind. So when I'm off the ball, am I cognitively ahead of what's going to happen next, or am I behind? And then from the staying in the moment point of view, I'll generally give them clues. I might talk about gazing. I might give them some real life examples. I might then go, okay, like I'm gonna, and again, it's up to me, isn't it? I might signpost, go, okay, I'm gonna referee the next bit really badly for 10 minutes. Or I might tell one team, I might go, Tom, I'm gonna referee the next 10 minutes badly. I'm not gonna tell James's team. What I want you to do is to just notice the impact it has on the players and on the performance. And I would love you guys to give some feedback. So if everyone could identify one player in the other team that you're going to go and you're going to observe, and then you're going to have the conversation with, and some of it might be good, some of it might be bad. And or another thing I'll do is, because it can be quite frustrating as a coach, can't it? Suddenly, like, players are bickering at you, or they're moaning at each other, or any of those things. Sorry, there's a party behind me now. And I used to get a bit frustrated with this as a coach. Oh my God, like, can't you? And actually, what I just decided to do now is just to focus on who's doing it well. So I'll go, cool, you got two hands. As you're grabbing your water bottle, just put your hands on the shoulders of two people that are doing a really good job of staying in the moment. And I really want to like explore that. So Tom, you got your hand on James's shoulder, like, well, what have you noticed about James? Oh, well, he's, cool. And James, have you got a strategy for that? And I actually caught up with Joe Bellingham in Sunderland this year, and he remembered it amazingly. But I did a session with him when he was about 14 at Birmingham, and his head was completely gone. And I remember asking them at the end, like, put your hand up if you've got a solution to staying in the moment. And there was two players that put their hand up, and they actually told stories about what they did before and during training to help them. And I could see the penny drop on the other players' faces of, oh wow, this is okay. This is quite important, isn't it? And in that group, I used that. So I told one group, and I asked them to then give feedback to the others, because again, that's an important skill, isn't it, for teenage boys to be able to give and receive feedback to one another is a super helpful skill.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for that. That's really, really good example there. I think people will be watching this to be able to follow. Again, I'll probably share one back. We've tried to create facilities for players in the academy that I'm involved in. We tried to create facilities for them to, when they're thinking about the game and we catch them looking backwards, is create facilities like, we'll talk about that after the game. That's your facility. So if you catch yourself thinking about what happened or what am I going to do, we'll do that later. Don't worry. And we try and so then getting more comfortable with, okay, it's gone. I can talk about that later. I can reflect on that later. And it's really open. It's not like we will talk about that later. We will provide you space to explore that a bit later on in the game. Keep going forwards throughout it.
Yeah, I think like timing is such an important coaching skill to think about, isn't it? Like, when do I have that convo? Do I prime people in advance? Do I go, look, I'm going to do this? In the moment, do I prompt or offer people clues or challenges? Or do I go, actually, at this moment in time, like, it's not helpful for me to have this convo. It's actually just going to, like, I'm pouring petrol on a fire here. And those are the things, and again, like, probably some simple questions to the players to start with. And again, it wouldn't be my preference, but you might Google form it, or, when you're emotionally dysregulated, what's your one top tip for me? Or when giving feedback, what's your one top tip for me? Or to help me get the best out of you, ... So coaches just being more aware, and you can choose to ignore those things. We're doing a bit of work with the business next week, and I've asked everyone what's their hope and their fear. I can use their fears against them if I want. I can get someone to like bring their fears to life. Or I can look at the people in the group and go, I really want that person's hope to come true here. Like, that's so for me, all of this is just individual. Like, and James, you probably fill me in a bit more. You have better memory of the session than me. I probably got to interact with the two or three of the individuals, I'm sure. And then the co-coaches, maybe another 3 or 4 that we felt like we had good impact on. And that is the hard bit of all of this. And that's why I think helping them help themselves is important, because some coaches will be standing in front of 30 people and That's a lot. And of course, we all have biases. Like, I want to go and help the best players, or actually, the players that are struggling the most are the ones I tend towards. And yeah, there'll be some players that are missing out here. So that's where I guess my view around helping players help themselves became really important, because I was recognizing in myself as a coach that there's some people that I probably wasn't helping as well as I could.
Yeah, nice. James, I'm conscious I'm hogging Rusty here. So
You're all right, Tom. You're okay. Yeah, so I just find that really interesting, and a lot of the stuff you said around kind of the ownership from a young age is really interesting. I don't know, you've probably seen the Ken Robinson TED talk when he's talking about, all kids are geniuses and it's school that actually kind of beats it out of them. So I think even working with 5, 6, 7 year olds, some of the answers they come up with is, can sometimes be kind of amazing. And kind of Guy Claxton's work around, what's the point of school, things like that Perry Walters mentioned in a previous discussion. So yeah, well, I find really interesting. So
Some of
a
my
lot of this,
best, some of my best options. I think I have a lot of options, and I'm basically like an option collector. Maybe that's how I should describe myself. And come from the youngest players. So we had a rule that I took to New Zealand, and we had a guy who's got about 80 caps for the All Blacks go, "Oh my God, that's an unbelievable rule." And I didn't have the heart to tell him it came from a 9-year-old kid. You know what I mean? Like this, they go, and this kid just went, "Rusty, you've got 1 point for this in your games. It should be 2 for this." And I was like, "Oh my God, you are a genius." Like, and often we're just so like this, aren't we? We've already decided what it looks like and how it works. And yeah, again, that's why I'll always ask. I'll have options in my head, but I'll go, okay, what's next level of this game? If you could set yourself a challenge, if you were coaching yourself, what would the challenge be? My son, when he was really young, said, "I want to make as many defenders fall over as possible." And that is the actual ultimate, like in attack, you are trying to make defenders fall over. But, I'm not sure he would say that now he's 20.
oh, fantastic.
yeah, so that's well, obviously myself and Tom being academics, we've sort of spent decades reading books and journal articles and things like that to probably come up with similar ideas to you. But I just love the fact that you've done that kind of almost bottom up. You've done it the other way around. You've gone out and lived it and experienced it and learned from that way. So do you do much reading around that, around academic side, or is this just purely stuff that you've kind of accumulated over the years through experience?
Yeah, I actually went back to do a prof doc in lockdown and did a year at Leeds Becker, which was really helpful for me because kind of gave me some words and some frameworks that were helpful for me. I've got lots of friends that are academics. I feel like I'm in an AA meeting now. I've got lots of friends who are academics, and they'll again make sense of stuff for me. So, Danny Newcomb, Ollie Runswick, guys like that are really helpful. It's like Danny Newcomb said to me once, "Well, Rusty, you only control 2 things: practice, design, and coach behaviour." And I thought, that's pretty useful for me. And Ollie Brunswick's done a lot of stuff around decision making and anticipation, which again is what we're in the business of coaching, isn't it? So yeah, I think, and then you discover Gary Klein and people like that you go, okay, that's interesting, and that's probably like in between. I'm sure Gary would say he's an academic, but he definitely feels a bit more applied. Yeah, they're all kind of sources of knowledge, aren't they? Really, like some's academic, some's. I guess my experience is that there's lots of people in my worlds that are academics that don't understand context, that don't understand power struggles, politics, all those things that are going on, and sometimes use words that like are a little bit long. So I had a coach. I messaged an academic and I said, "Oh, I've got a bit of feedback for you." He didn't want it, but it was this. Actually, there was a coach who's a high level coach who sat on one of his things, and he was too embarrassed to ask what does psychosocial mean, and he didn't know what it meant, but he didn't want to put his hand up because he felt a bit scared of asking it, and so he messaged me and said, "What does this mean?" And anyway, I think sometimes we just got to. It's same as which same as with your coach development, Tom, you just find the right level for the right person. You find the language that works for them, that they can see and understand that language versus my language. So I'm coaching, different age groups, working with different coaches. I'll use different language. I
Yeah,
won't have one set of language that I think just applies to everyone. That would be pretty stupid of me.
yeah, I think that's a pretty fair criticism of academics sometimes.
I wasn't criticizing everyone. Sorry. Many apologies
No,
to the.
but yeah, I would say that myself though. Sometimes you don't kind of get things at the right level for coaches to understand, and maybe coaches, it can make them feel a little bit patronized, I think, at times. But yeah, I think it's great that you've kind of gone out and experienced this, and it's a big case for experiential learning, uh, maybe alongside or even above kind of academic learning.
It
But
just really helped me. Like, so when I was at Beckett, like you're able to just have the experiences and go, oh yeah, that's that. Get that. That fits in really well. So like self-determination theory, like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So mastery. So that's levels. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. On that bit's around like so peer to peer helps with that. Okay, cool. So I'm able to like plug it into something. And I actually spend quite a bit of my time trying to get, with the business this morning, go, okay, well, why don't we create a framework of our own for this? And I might use some other frameworks I've seen. I might go, look, here's a framework. Like, is there anything you want to add or take away? Or, but how does this then work in your world for me, is the key thing. I mean, we're interested in transfer, aren't we?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of a brilliant philosophy. So there's a lot of sort of debate around in a minute around on one-to-one coaches in football and doing unopposed practice and things like that. And some academics are slating it and saying it doesn't work. But yeah, you watch it and you see it work. So yeah, theory and practice don't always align perfectly, do they? So
And
yeah,
by the way, I wouldn't, it's starting to come into rugby a lot more like the one-on-one coach. And you just got to be aware of how much of the game you're rubbing out and what you are practicing, what you aren't practicing. Um, I couldn't do it. I'd get really bored doing it. I'm not sure I could fill an hour. I wouldn't feel like it was as valid as it could have been. My preference would be, you might say to me, Tom, could you come to one of my sessions and be my individual coach in a team session? And that would make way more sense to me. But of course, sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes we are one on one, and you've got to make the best of that moment and go, okay, what can we do that's going to, result in learning?
yeah, I think there's obviously different levels, but I've seen it done very well and I've seen it transfer very well and evidence that it does transfer. So yeah, I guess his argument
Yeah.
for and against. Yeah, anything more from you, Tom?
I think just going back to that transfer piece, Rusty, it's like I just really appreciate you sort of being able to take frameworks and be comfortable to make them fit the context that you're going into or seeking to go into. I think that's really important for coaches, sites going into different settings, working with different populations. It's been well, for example, if you're new to those sort of things, it's been brave enough to make things fit and adapt things to what you need. I think that's really useful, and especially like if you're working with different age groups, things have got to be adapted and made bespoke for those populations.
Yeah, great. And even the language. So it made me think immediately of James Bell. To be fair to Belly, so when James Bell, he interviewed his first presentation, came to work in the pathway with England, and his first presentation must have had about 1,000 words on it. And he got about 10, 20 seconds in, and we went, Belly, you have to leave the room, go and redo the slides, and come back in at a later date. And we just then had a language that resonated with players that seemed helpful, that you could go, oh, that looks like that on the pitch. Okay, I get that. That's what England first looks like. Got it. Cool. Amazing. Yeah, and that adjustment was helpful for the play. Ultimately, it's about the players, isn't it? And us helping them. And if stuff's not landing, then sometimes we blame the learner, don't we?
Yeah, oh, without doubt. Yeah, I mean, we do. I mean, what we tried to do at the academy I'm in, we tried to we come up with 8 characteristics, but I could have gone in, or a practitioner could have gone and go, right, we're going to develop these 3 things. This is it, guys. We actually got to try and like learn what the context is, who are the types of players that get through. What do you want to learn? What's important to you?
Yeah.
That's
yeah, and that's hard, isn't it? Because we're kind of hardwired around like curriculum and that type of stuff. Whereas actually, like to see it as a bit more flexible, that the players are the curriculum, that actually the curriculum might be a bit more individualized than it is. Like, well, the skill of coaching is suddenly there's a few more skills you need as a coach, isn't there?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Those other types of skills way beyond the X's and O's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn those
Yeah.
extra skills we need to learn.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is kind of lacking in football, kind of coach education a minute, and that's kind of we've spoken to coach educators at the FA, and they agree up to the Advanced Youth Award, which is a brilliant, brilliant course, but that's kind of level 4. So where's the stuff at levels 1, 2, and 3 in football? I'm not sure what it's kind of like in rugby and other sports, but yeah, mine and Tom's mission and is to kind of get the message out there around the site social. And like I say, watching your sessions, Rusty, was brilliant. Seeing it actually transfer onto the pitch and the way he did that was brilliant. So just to kind of round off a little bit.
I was going to say the only other thing I was
Oh,
going to say,
sorry.
James, is and people sometimes like I can't remember if I had headbands in the session. I might have, um, but again, like making things visible as well is super helpful with this for me. So it might be that we make a problem visible. It might be that actually, if James gets tackled, it's worth a goal. So James is the best player. Actually, we want to like move him to the next level of game and stretch him. Like so, this stuff as well. Like I really want to make it visible in training sessions. Like okay, like we got 2 headbands per team. What we're thinking about is like who's been the best teammate and like cool. Like point to the person who's been the best teammate. Cool. You two are in charge of the headbands. Once someone does something that you actually think's pretty cool, then you share that headband with them. So, and then next time we come in, it might be okay, cool. Oh, Tom's got the headband now. Why, James? Tell me why did you give him the headband? Like, oh well, I noticed this. He did this, and super helpful for the team. So, I am pretty keen to make this stuff because it's quite invisible, isn't it? Like some of the psych stuff. Uh,
Mm.
and so I want to
Absolutely.
make it like visible to everyone.
Yeah, like I say, the sessions I thought were brilliant for that. So just to round off, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, Rusty. 3 top tips you give for people for developing psychosocial on the pitch.
Go and hang out with other coaches and like really good coaches and spend time with them and get on the pitch with them and coach. You'll probably pick up some top tips. Second thing, probably just be really curious with the players. Don't go in with a that's the beauty of me getting to do that thing is I don't have any history with those players. So I can actually go in with a really fresh perspective, be curious. Okay, does anyone get anything they want to get better at? Genuinely, I have no idea what the answer to that question is. And then probably third, like, yeah, think about the co-coaching because it's quite hard, isn't it? Especially if let's say there's 2 coaches, like for one of you to run the activity, run the game, blah blah blah. That'll take up a reasonable amount of your capacity. So actually, like how using the other coaches to support some of this development would be something I would think a lot about the co-coaching group. Often we're not maximizing it.
Yeah, brilliant. Some great tips there. And thoroughly recommend anyone to watch your sessions. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Cheers, Rusty.
Thanks for
Thanks for
having me,
speaking.
guys. I appreciate you. Sorry, I was in the middle of a party for part of it.